Hey everybody, welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. On today's episode of Tech Talk Tuesday, we are going to talk about change orders. So you've ordered your new Peterbilt and you start thinking about it and you're like, I'd like to change the size of my sleeper up. Yep, I want the big boy. I want the 78 instead of the 72. Well, what does that mean? What do you need to know about making changes? Now, when we order a Peterbilt, of course, it goes into a schedule. I have what's called an RO29, which I've got this one right here. This is my RO29. It's got all the chassis listed. It's got the firm/tentative date that it's in the schedule. Now with Peterbilt, you get a tentative date, and that date could move forward or back depending until it gets firmed up. When it's assigned a firm date, that's the day it's built. And interestingly enough, a Peterbilt truck is built in approximately 8 hours. People ask me, well, how long does it take to build my truck? It takes 8 hours to build your truck, so it doesn't take that long. The Peterbilt factory, I'm not sure how many trucks they're building currently. I think at the max we were about 160 to 180 trucks a day. I could be wrong on that one, but yeah, when you think about it, 160 trucks a day getting built out of one building, basically with 2 shifts. It's like a truck rolling off the assembly line floor every 5.5 minutes, roughly. So yeah, they build a lot of trucks. But anyways, so being that everything has a firm schedule or tentative schedule in my scheduler with the dates, and then beside that is basically a countdown of the weeks. Like right now, the build schedule, we're looking at July, August. If it's a sleeper truck, you're going to be into to August now, and August we're like 19, 20 weeks. So 21 weeks is the longest that I have on order, and which would be August 2nd. So if your truck's in August, we're 21 weeks out, you can make changes. What's it going to cost to make changes on your truck after it's ordered? Well, it is going to cost something, because at the end of the day, there's a cost to everything, because we have to download the spec, re-upload the spec, and someone at the factory is going to have to reissue a updated RO29, and they're going to have to essentially make changes. And as your truck build gets closer to the date, there's the dates where it hits engineering, and then you have your applications engineer that reviews the spec. It goes through the program. If there's anything that looks out of whack, they'll have to make changes, because sometimes a computer program will let you have too many gauges or too many switches, so they'll remove stuff. So anyways, you have that date where it hits applications engineering. Then once it gets approved, then they actually have to order all the parts. So basically it gets to that deadline date where it's like, okay, you can't make any more changes, because they have to order frame rails, cabs, hoods, all the components for your truck, and have them coming from all the different suppliers all over the world, so that they can meet your truck on August 2nd or whatever date that is. So, and right now with COVID, that's a real challenge, trying to get suppliers to make all the components, because of course with COVID, like so many things, we've had supplier issues with everything. I think right now that we're having a hard time getting chips for power door window actuators. I don't think it's a problem yet, but it's one of those things that they're working through to make sure that we can supply all our customers with the trucks that they want when they want them. But anyways, change order policy. So change orders will be accepted on all models based on the following criteria. I have my cheat sheet book here with highlights, and this is like my go-to, because at the end of the day, I can't always remember these things off the top of my head. So with that, I like to have my book of information for quick access, because you know what, if I dealt with it all the time, then I'd probably be able to remember it all. But you don't deal with it every day, because let's face it, hopefully you can order a truck and you're done. You don't have to make changes. Or when the order board was cooked. Interestingly enough, talking about a quick order board, The quickest I ever ordered a truck and had it delivered was 4 weeks. This was a few years ago now. I ordered the truck, the build schedule was short, customer wanted ASAP. I said, I need this truck ASAP, as soon as we can get it done. Within 4 weeks of the day I hit order, it actually showed up in our yard. Never seen that since then. It happened once in my life, or certainly once in my sales career. Maybe it's happened once before in my life, but once in my sales career, 4 weeks from the time I hit the order button till the time it pulled into the yard. Now that was a 389 highway tractor, absolutely beautiful truck. I believe that one was for Chrome Trucking. Shout out to Chrome Trucking. I may have something in store for Chrome Trucking in the future, but we will have to wait and see for this spring. But yeah, that was fantastic, since I haven't had anything happen like that since. So, because usually once a truck gets built, from the time it gets released, getting a little off track here, but you know, in reference to my my RO29, I usually figure, you know, like I've actually got some chassis here right now. They were firm scheduled for February 26th. We had a 2-week slowdown because of the bad weather in Texas. You know, so that pushes it back to say March 10th. It's now March 13th. And if I look in the system, the trucks are actually at drive away now. And so from the time they get dispatched, I usually figure on about 4 days to a week for them to get here. But 9 times out of 10, you know, from its build date, from the day that it's built. So like when I've got a firm date of February 26th, that truck was built on February 26th. It was built that day. The next day they take it to driveway. You know, it usually takes a week to get paired up into a load, because, you know, they'll figure out which one's going to be driving, which one's going to pack, where they're going to go, whether they're going to go up through Alberta, whether they're going to go up through Washington State to get to BC. And so they'll plan a load, you know, to be the most efficient they can be. And then they'll dispatch it. And, you know, Texas is 4,400 kilometers from here, so it takes about, well, 4 to 6 days, depending on how many stops they make and how many miles you can put on in a day. So usually I figure on 2 weeks, but right now I'd say 3 to 4 weeks from the build date to see it. So like these trucks, they were built February 26th. It's now March 13th. You know, I'm probably at least a week, 2 weeks away from seeing that truck in my yard. But so that's how it works with scheduling. Doesn't take long to build a truck. It's all the other stuff that takes longer. And right now, trying to get through the border with COVID, what a pain in the butt. You know, now they want COVID tests and all the rest of it. And, you know, so my guys are, you know, getting to the border, and, well, honestly, I don't know how they're going to do it, whether we're going to have somebody, you know, on the Canada side pick up at the border. But, you know, normally they come through the border and, you know, bring it to Prince George, undeck it, and jump on a plane and back to Texas to go get some more trucks. But anyways, off topic, change orders. So change orders will be accepted on all models based on the following criteria. The open change period is 1 working day from the original pre-bill for all major components, and 2 working days for minor component changes, paint changes, and shipping changes. So that basically means when I go click and we order the truck, I have 1 day free of charge to change whatever I want on it. You know, I can change driveline, engine, horsepower, sleeper size, whatever, no problem. Day 2, I can change minor things. What do they consider minor? I would say that would be things like tires, you know, sleeper trim level. You know, if you want to have an aero mirror versus a traditional mirror, that would be a minor change. Major is things like wheelbase, engine, transmission, sleeper size. So those are majors. And at that time, it will be done at no charge. But every time after that, there is a charge for the PIA factor. What does PIA stand for, you might ask? Pain in the ass. And like everything in life, there is a pain in the ass charge. Now, I'm pretty sure it doesn't say in the Peterbilt literature a PIA charge, but I'm going to call it a PIA charge because, well, and actually I probably shouldn't because it's not politically correct. But anyways, that's what I'm calling it, PIA charge, because I'm a pain in their butt. But you know what? If being a pain in their butt is what I have to do to get you the truck that you want and spec it how you want and catch those things that you want last minute, that's what we're going to do. So, change order charges, week 9 plus. So basically when your chassis on your RO29 right here, I've got my weeks here. When it's at week 9 plus, so like these trucks right here I have, they're at week 10, and this was actually last week, so this week that truck will be at week 9. I can still make a change, and the change costs, well actually it would be, I can still make a change at the lowest price level. So whether it's at 20 weeks to 9 weeks, it's gonna cost this. So to change something major is gonna cost $125 US. To change something minor is gonna cost $75 USD. Now being in Canada, of course, that means it's gonna cost us closer to $200. Well, in actual fact, let's just grab my little trusty calculator, and it's gonna be based on your chassis exchange rate. So $125 US, I believe the chassis exchange rate right now, let me just check to confirm. Look at my computer here. Inventory, new inventory. Oh, I don't want to do that. I probably should have had this ready before I did it. So yes, chassis exchange rate right now today in Canada is 1.27. So for every US dollar costs us $1.27. So all you guys in the US, you're lucky. You don't have to deal with that because that number changes and it's a pain in the butt. It was 132. So trucks have actually gotten cheaper for Canadians. Well, exchange wise, of course, you know, we have a model year price increase, which, you know, PACCAR always does, but it's life, inflation, as they say. Although sometimes the prices do come down. I remember when the dollar was at par, or when it was actually the other way, when we were 0.98 and we actually could buy a US dollar for like 98 cents or 97 cents. That was fantastic, but wasn't very good for our resource-based industries that rely on a weak Canadian dollar, which in turn sells trucks. But anyways, sidetrack. So back to build schedule. $125 US times current exchange 1.27. So that change actually costs a Canadian $158.75 and $75 for a minor change, which is $95 Canadian. To a maximum, so if you want to change a whole thing, if you want to change the whole truck, like say you're like, you know what, I'm going to change my sleeper size, engine size, I'm going to go from a tandem to a tridem and the whole 9 yards, they'll only charge you a maximum of $350. So they're not going to ding you really hard for making a big change, which is great. So once again, in Canadian funds, $350 times your 1.27. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, except I did it wrong. Times, oh gosh, who knew a calculator could be so difficult? Times 1.27. So $444. So basically 450 bucks to change your truck completely, which, you know what? In Canadian dollars, trucks now are like 200, 210, 207, 206, 215. 500 bucks isn't the end of the world. It's not great. I don't want to spend it. I don't want to eat it. You don't want to eat it. But that's what it costs. So less than week 9. Now we're getting into crunch time. Like, you know, they got to order parts and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, give their suppliers lead time as to how many dash modules they need, how many rubber grommets they need. So week 6 to 8 is the next price level change. So you get to week 8 and you're like, shoot, I want to change the wheelbase, Mike. What's that going to cost? That's going to cost you $525 US for a major item. If it's a minor item and you're like, oh, geez, you know, I want to get add an extra gauge here. Well, that's going to cost you $225 US. So something small that you missed is now going to cost you $285 to change. But the beauty is you can still change it down to week 6, which when you think about it, week 6, you got 6 weeks till you're going to build a truck from scratch. You know, you take, I don't know how many parts are in a truck, but say there's like, I don't know, 10,000 parts. 10,000 parts are sitting on shelves everywhere and have to come together to build that truck. But Peterbilt, in their generosity, they're not going to charge you. If you want to change your whole truck, you want to change everything about it, they're only going to charge you a maximum of $2,500. So, you know, that would be like say 5 major change items. So to a maximum of $2,500. But in saying that, $2,500 is a lot of money. So if you wanted to change everything, it's going to cost you $3,175 Canadian to do a major change on the whole truck in week 6 to 8. Because now you're into crunch town. I mean, 6 weeks away, 6 weeks is nothing. So after 6 weeks, you're SOL. And if you don't know what SOL is, it means poopy, out of luck. And I say poopy because I don't want to swear, but it's the S word, out of luck. So SOL, that's where SOL comes from. But anyways, so you're poopy out of luck. Or poop out of luck. Poopy's kind of, yeah, it sounds like I'm a 3-year-old or something, but I got a poopy. Yeah, so major components, it consists of engine, wheelbase, transfer case, because we do make 4-wheel drive trucks. If you need, we've actually got a 4-wheel drive service truck. It's freaking wicked, I gotta say. Frame rail, size and length, rear suspension, sleeper, exhaust, 5th wheel model, transmission, PTOs, fuel tank size and location, wheels, interior, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's the minor things. Well, it says major components, so I guess minor components is all the other things. So once you get down to weeks 0 to 5, there's no changes allowed. You know, after 5 weeks, you're getting it whether you like it or not. You can appeal though. Appeals will incur a $500 fee per ECO in addition to the 6 to 8 week fee. So say it's week 0 to 5 and you go, oh my gosh, I made it a tri-drive and it needs to be a tandem, and how did I miss this? And and I can't have it. Or maybe more in tune would be a transmission, you know, like say you've got an automatic or say you've got a 10-speed and it has to have an 18-speed. That's where week 0 to 5, you can appeal it. It's going to cost you $500 for the appeal, plus it's going to cost whatever it cost you before. So it's going to cost you $1,000, well actually $1,025 to do one major change in week 0 to 5. Because now the PIA factor is huge. You're being a royal pain in the butt. You know, it could affect the whole line. You know, they've already got their dates. It's organized. Your truck is firm dated. So yeah, I've never had that happen and I'm not going to get there. So, well, I'm going to try not to get there. I mean, if actually I had a situation where, and here's where it's important to check your spec. You know, we sell a lot of tri-drives. I sell a lot of tri-drives. The Smart Spec program had a situation where if you changed from a tri-drive to a tandem or vice versa, it would kick your diff lockers out. I had a customer I was quoting multiple chassis. It was like, well, how much for a tandem? It's this much. How much for a tridem? It's that much. Well, how much if I go to a 5 Series? It's this much. So I was changing the spec a lot. Interestingly enough, in my change from a tandem to a tridem, it kicked my diff lockers out. Not a big deal if I caught my diff lockers. It's not a really expensive option to have your diff lockers. But let me tell you, a tri-drive without diff lockers is kind of like a duck without wings. It's not very useful. So they built the truck because they will build the truck however you wish to build it. I never caught it. Had I caught it in week 0 to 5, you bet your butt I would have paid the $500 ECO plus the $525,000 and some dollar US charge, because in the end I had to put diff lockers in it because it's a tri-drive. My customer ordered diff locks, so my customer is going to get the truck that he paid for, and it cost me $11,000 Canadian to put diff lockers in. Let me tell you, that's a mistake you only want to do once in your career. Thankfully, you know, mistakes happen. The company just absorbed the mistake. No cost to the customer. It was my fault, 100% my fault, and yeah, that one hurt. So I don't want to do that again, because to put diff lockers in, you actually have to change the housings, the rear end housings. There is an exchange program to change the housings, but you still got rear diff housings to ship and the labor, and yeah, I don't want to think about that. Now it's got me freaked out because all these trucks on all these pages makes me want to go back and check and make sure they all have diff lockers, because everything I order has diff lockers. So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like ordering a truck without windshields. Like, you just have it in everything. But some people, I guess, don't order diff locks. So anyways, that's what it would cost you. Now paint is another thing, paint and shipping. So not nearly as major because we have lots of paint options. But if you if you want to change the color, you can change it right down to week 3, which is pretty darn close. 3 weeks away from building it, and you're like, well, you know what? I really like that red, but no, I want it to be bad boy blue. So weeks 9 plus, $75 US to change a paint color. Not a big deal, but it's still $7,500. $7,500. Still $75 US. So at current exchange, that is $95 Canadian. So $100 to change a paint color. Not a big deal. Week 6 to 8, $125. A little bit more money. Not the end of the world. Hey guys, sorry about that. Battery went dead. I was just talking about paint and shipping policy. So paint, week 9 plus, you can change the color of your truck for $75 US. Works out to about $95 Canadian. Week 6 to 8, $125 if you've decided that, excuse me, that maybe bad boy blue isn't quite as good as that cherry red tint coat that you like. So week 6 to 8, $125 US. Weeks 3 to 4, it's going to cost you $275 times 1, 2, $350 Canadian to change that color in weeks 3 to 5. So for $350, you want to make sure that you really want that color changed bad in weeks 3 to 5. So anyways, that's my my Tech Talk Tuesday on change order policies. There's some other stuff in here about, blah, 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 firm schedule, second color cannot be added due to factory capacity constraints. There's some things that'll be made at no charge, like engineering clarification, smart spec program errors, Peterbilt order entry errors, changes received within 2 working days after an approved paper pilot or pilot review in week 10 plus, changes to electronic engine parameters, so that's one that doesn't cost you. Changes made to the customer name or competitive allowance, so that doesn't cost you, which is nice. And fleet paint, what do we got here? Fleet paint splits received within 2 working days of the engineering pre-build date. So yeah, I guess that's if it's a fleet truck and you're splitting the paints. But anyways, that's it for change order costs. At the end of the day, I would recommend when you order your truck, don't plan on thinking that you can change it after the fact. I mean, can you? You can. Excuse me. Can you? Absolutely. But the kicker is if we're in a short lead time scenario, you might only get that 1 day or 2 days where you can make changes and then that's it. Right now with the order board way out, you've got a little bit of freedom to take some time and really think about if you want any changes. But but it does cost money, and at the end of the day, if you don't have to spend it, let's not spend it. And it's not fair to expect your salesperson to eat the cost of it or the company, because quite frankly, it's difficult to absorb costs like this. So it does have to get passed on to the customer. But I would way rather we find an error that we can fix before the truck gets built. So anyways, guys, that was Tech Talk Tuesday for this Tuesday, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and feel free to watch next Tuesday for the next Tech Talk Tuesday on Tuesday. But this time it'll be next Tuesday instead of this Tuesday, but we'll try and do it every Tuesday because, Tech Talk Tuesday sounds better than Tech Talk Friday. And besides, Friday's pizza day, and who wants to talk about tech stuff on Friday? Forget about it. Anyways, guys, thanks. Cheers. Later. Next time.